Hi, everybody. Welcome to It's Worth a Shot on this Wednesday, September 11th. We're going to wait a couple moments for everybody's audio to connect, and then we'll get the presentation started. All right, looks like we've got most everybody. We can go to the next slide, Mary. So again, this presentation may contain information and/or content supplied by third parties, which it does for this presentation. The information provided does not constitute endorsement or recommendation by Mountain Pacific. We just like to make sure that we give you guys as many viewpoints and information points as possible. Next slide. Do you want to say Happy Environmental Services Week? So it's EVS week. It started on the 8th, which is Sunday, and will end on Saturday. So if you have not brought attention to your EVS team, I highly recommend it. Project First Line does have some trainings and stuff for EVS. We've sent out a couple emails, but we just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then there's some more information there on that link that we'll put in the chat, and then you guys can check that out. Next slide. All right, if you were on the ANT call today, then these are going to be kind of redundant, but we have a couple webinars here for you guys to join. We've got the Advanced Patient Safety through Diagnostic Excellence. That's on the 17th. We have the annual influenza, or the AIM annual influenza update webinar. This one's going to be a little different. So when you register for it, it's actually for influenza-like teams and professionals and whatnot, but they've got really good information that they're going to share. So when you register for this, you're going to select a nonprofit partner as your, or nonprofit partners as your role, because we're obviously a nonprofit and you guys are the partners with us. And then it does ask for your, what was it called? Not region.
Jurisdiction.
There we go. Thanks, Kyla. It asks for your jurisdiction, which is really weird, but just go ahead and put, whatever state you live in, and that can be your jurisdiction. Okay, and then the final one on the slide is understanding the science of addiction and recovery. Looks like we're missing a letter there, and that's on September 19th. Next slide. All right, so we've got immunization information because it is, that time of year. So we do have a resource that it's never too old to get vaccinated from the immunize.org website. And it's nice because it's got a nice layout of all, the different vaccines that you can get and if they are required or not and what the requirements go with them. And then we wanted to try something a little different here. So this article is actually in Time Magazine, and it discusses that your likelihood of getting myocarditis from the COVID-19 vaccine are lower than if you just actually had COVID-19. And it is talking about a study that was published in JAMA. So I know we all read a lot of the CDC updates and CMS and whatnot, but we thought it would be nice to kind of take a little bit of a different approach here and throw out an actual news article, from a magazine and see if that kind of might help sway anybody to increase their immunization rates or disperse some myths about the vaccine. But we thought we'd try that out. And then we have the drug and alcohol facts and education, opioids and pain management is second installment of that educational series. We forgot to put the link on there, and so I think Kyla will drop that in chat for us once she locates it. And then next slide. Couple more resources for immunizations. So we've got the full guide and then a shorter version. This is from Farm America, and it talks about the influenza guide for this 2024-2025 season. Next slide. All right, as always, we appreciate you joining us. And if you have any topics or anything you think that we should cover that will really help this group out, we'd appreciate you bringing it to the table for us. This has been going on, I believe this is, I don't know what number, 133 or something like that for this webinar. So obviously we've been doing this for quite a while, and so sometimes it's hard for us to come up with new or exciting topics to cover. So if you guys help us out, we really do appreciate that. Mary did drop the can't think of the word for this one either. Evaluation in the chat. If you guys want to take the time to fill that out, again, we read every one of them and we do take your suggestions to heart. All right, next slide. All right, here's our second week of the influenza snapshot and the COVID snapshot. As you can see, we're still a lot of green, not much flu being noticed or causing any kind of trends at this point in time. Next slide. And then this one is our weekly COVID snapshot. Looks like there's, I can't remember from last week, but it looks like we're holding about steady for the death rates and the, oh, this one doesn't have, oh yeah, the hospitalization trend looked like it's went down, but now it's going back up. So that's to be expected coming into the fall season. Next slide. All right, so we've got Jeff Grant back with us for the second part of the unintentional injury prevention webinar. So I'll kick it off to him.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Last week I was in Pinedale, Wyoming, coming to you for this presentation, and today I'm actually in 10 Sleep, Wyoming, completely across the state. However, my travels have taken me to some beautiful places across Wyoming. So even though I have to do the Zoom meetings in a different room, I get to travel to different places and see some beautiful things. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So next thing we want to do is we want to talk with our doctors, and the handouts that we put in the Dropbox last week, I think we should still have those. So let's go ahead and talk with our doctors. Next slide. The importance of talking to our doctor is, the information that you give your doctor, give them a full understanding of the situation. And I'm going to pick on the guys a little bit again. A lot of times when we go to a doctor, we don't want to tell them everything that happens. We just want to give them just kind of the highlights. It's very, very important that we give the doctor all the information they need, because what that does is helps them put the pieces together of the puzzle and understand completely what's going on. And it also assists with keeping up with your independence. Doctors can treat you for the right cause before it's too late if they know all the facts. Go ahead. So I'm going to kind of skip a little over this, but real quick, just a couple examples. When you talk about your concerns to the doctor, explain to them in detail of what's going on. It might seem like nothing to you. However, the doctors, with all the training that they have, there's certain little things that they look for when we're talking about our concerns. So like if you have a knee pain that's been bothering you for a month, it's happened when I got up from a chair, and it's worse in the morning than it is at night. This might tell the doctor something about your daily activity of what's going on. So make sure that you tell them all your concerns. Some of the handouts that we have are a list that you can write down to take to the doctor. So you can write down every concern that you have, so when you get there that you remember everything. Next slide. And here it is. So before you go, make a list. Tell them you fell down. When did you fall down? The injuries from the falling down. What was the possible cause of that? Did you trip over an extension cord, or maybe changes that you've made since the fall? Help him see the whole picture, not just a little bit of it. Next slide. Medications. Also, when you go to the doctor, make sure that you take all your medications with him so he can see all of them. A lot of times, because you know as well as I do, medications have big words. So a lot of times we can't remember all of them. So either take a snapshot of them or put them in a Ziploc bag and take them with you. Why is this important? So the doctor can see exactly what medications you are on, because if you see two different doctors and they prescribe different medications, two medications combined might cause dizziness or anxiety, and the doctors know this. So they're like, well, you shouldn't be taking this one. Let's take you off this one and put you back on this one to help you out. Know the side effects, because a lot of side effects can cause dizziness, anxiety. It can alter your blood pressure, make it go up or drop it down. So make sure that you take your medications so they know exactly what you're on. Next slide. The communication is key, keeping your doctor in the loop. Every concern is important, and a yearly follow-up. Next slide. Helpful tips. And again, men, I'm going to pick on you. I'm intensely, but I just gave a presentation, and what was kind of funny is, as I'm sitting here talking to husbands and wives, every single wife like tapped her shoulder and says, "See, I told you. See, look, bring somebody with you to the doctor." Why? Because a lot of times we only hear what we want to hear, and as men, we're kind of stubborn that we'll get the, you're doing really well, except, and we hear, "See, honey, I'm doing really well. I don't need all this," but you didn't hear the except. And a lot of times when it's good news or bad news, we kind of have a tendency to shut down. If it's really bad news, we'll hear something, shut down, and we don't hear all of the things after he says, the first part of it. So we want somebody with us so they can hear everything as well, because you might not remember something that your spouse or your friend, whoever that you take with you, can remember what was said, so it can help you out in the future. Communication is key. Make a list of all the talking points. Again, bring your medicines, your med list, and have somebody with you. Next slide. Let's take a look at the medications. Go ahead, next slide. Now, I want to make sure that you guys know, I'm not telling you guys to stop taking any medication. I am not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare provider in any way, shape, or form. So do not stop taking medications if they make you dizzy. You need to go to the doctor and make sure that you take all your medications with them so they can see exactly what you're on. They're the experts. They're the ones that can make those decisions. So next slide. A lot of medications are fall related. Blood pressure medicines, nerve medications, diuretics, antidepressants, laxative. A lot of these medications, when they're mixed together, can cause dizziness, cause your blood pressure to rise or fall. And in the course of that, this is where we become dizzy. A tripping hazard happens, we fall down. So we need to make sure that the doctors know all of the medications that we're on. Even if it's an over the counter medication, you need to make sure that you are taking them. I will kind of an example that I just had. I was taking ibuprofen or Aleve. I always thought Aleve was pretty safe, but I was taking a couple in the morning, a couple at night, and I actually had an ulcer. And because of that, and when I told the doctor, he says, "Oh yeah, you don't want to take that much Aleve." I thought Aleve was safe, so I learned my lesson there. Next, these are lightheaded. When we get as we get up, either from bed or a chair or a couch, whatever, use the 10-second rule. Sit down for about 10 seconds before you stand up. Make sure that you're okay. Steady yourself, drink lots of water, exercise, and walk as much as you can. Next, blood thinners and falls. When you are on blood thinners, even a minor fall can be serious. If you cut yourself on blood thinners, you will bleed a lot more than you would if you're not on blood thinners. If you fall, call 911 or ICE in case of emergency. Reduce your risk, keep your areas clutter free, use night lights, assist devices. Don't walk alone if you're dizzy or lightheaded. But remember, if you are on blood thinners and you cut yourself, even a minor cut can be very serious when taking a blood thinner. Next, medications, over the counter drugs. Keep a list, check the labels, take your medications as ordered. And what I might tell you with this is when you're taking medications, make sure you have them in a well-lit area, because a lot of times if it's too dark and you take 2 of these and 1 of these, and it should have been 1 of these and 2 of those, that can cause our body to fluctuate differently. So you want to make sure that you're taking them in the order and they're exactly how they're prescribed. Next slide. So ask your pharmacist or your doctor, what are the side effects of this drug? Ask the doctor, who do I call if something arises, if there's an issue? Ask for the name of the medication. How do you pronounce it properly so you can use that terminology properly? Ask what it treats. Are there any interactions? How long do you need to use it? What happens if I miss a dose? Do I need to start all over? Can I take 2 of these, 1 of those? But if you miss a dose, is that okay? Or do I need to take 2 to make up for that? Make sure you ask some of these doctors some of these questions. Next. Let's talk about the vision, how they relate to falls. Next slide. Again, this is one of the handouts that we have. Common eye disorders, age-related macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy. These are all common eye disorders that can affect our falls. Next. So we need to improve our vision, use proper lighting, use large prints. I'm only exactly, I'm not going to even say my age, but my younger friends kind of make fun of me because on my phone now I have increased the font because it's, I need my entire life I never needed glasses, but now I have to have glasses. So I increased the font to make it a little bit easier to read. So they still kind of make fun of me. So, but also contrasting colors. If you have to have prescription eyewear, make sure that you have that with you at all times. Next. Healthy eating. Let's talk about that. Next. Healthy eating and falls prevention. Now, when we eat healthy, it improves how we feel. It provides a sense of well-being, weight loss, maintain a healthy weight. It also reduces the chronic disease and assists energy levels. Now, I come from middle Nebraska, and my sister always asks me, my sister who is morbidly obese always says, Jeff, how come you exercise as much as you do? And I said, well, sis, look at the way we grew up. My mama was a good cook. Every night we had fried pork chops, mashed potatoes and gravy. We had fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy. We had corn on the cob. We had fried bread with butter and syrup. My mother was an incredible cook, and that's how we ate every single night. And so I said, sis, I still love to eat that way. I just have to pay the fiddler later. I still like to eat like that. I just have to pay the fiddler later. So if you're going to eat a Big Mac or a quarter pounder with cheese, that's okay. Just do it in moderation. But we also have to put in the exercise to help burn those calories. So we need to eat healthy when we can. Nothing wrong with having a big old cheeseburger every now and then. But for the most part, we need to eat as healthy as we can. Next slide. If we're not going to eat healthy, what that contributes to is frailness and falling. When we eat healthy, if we gorge ourselves on mashed potatoes and gravy and fried chicken and all that, and we're stuffed, well, we want to sit down, maybe watch a movie after that, not get up and move around. That causes, again, the fear of falling because now we're not up moving around, exercising like we were. We need more recovery time when we fall down after an injury or surgery. Illnesses and infections take a lot longer to heal. If we're not moving around, we lose strength, we lose our bone mass, our density. Wounds heal poorly. Bed sores don't heal like they used to or near as fast as they do. It creates a vitamin D deficiency. All these with poor nutrition, if we're not eating healthy and we're being sedentary, these things can add up over time. Next. However, healthy eating, again, we're all kind of different, but everybody's basic dietary needs is we need vitamin D, we need calcium, we need protein, we need iron-rich foods, and we need an adequate water consumption. I know eight ounces of water 3 or 4 times a day is highly recommended. Next. What this also does is lowers the risk of hip fractures when we have adequate amounts of calcium and vitamin D. If we do weight-bearing exercises, get an osteoporosis screen, we can lower our risk of hip fractures. I've had both my hips replaced, and I've had to take my calcium increase my calcium intake quite a bit. My mother-in-law my stepmother has broken her hips now, both of them. And so now she's on calcium supplements, vitamin D supplements, and has to do weight-bearing exercises on a regular basis just to keep active. Next. Tips for healthy eating. Drink plenty of liquids. Make eating a social event. And why this is important is if you are one that goes to a senior center or somewhere, eating with a social event kind of makes it fun and we don't eat as much. I am sitting in a senior center right now, and what we talked about this morning is when people are together, they have a tendency to laugh and talk together, and they don't eat as much because they want to tell their stories or talk a little bit. But it makes it fun, so they're not eating as much. They don't get as bloated as they would if they're sitting at home, because a lot of times when we sit at home, we have a tendency to eat a little bit more than we should. We need to plan healthy meals, vary our vegetables, use herbs and spices, but basically ask the doctors about vitamins and supplements. Next. Healthy choices. This is a plate that you can get. I won't kind of go in detail, but it's a nice little plate that you can buy on Amazon. It helps you with your proportions. It tells you this is how much fruits that you need, this is how many grains that you need, vegetables and proteins. It kind of lays it out for you. So when you fill your plate, it kind of lays it out for you that it's very easy to follow. Next. Now we have resources, Meals on Wheels. Again, if you're at a senior center, great resource to get a healthy meal. But however, if you're not, but need a healthy meal, Meals on Wheels, National Council on Aging, discuss with your doctor where you might go to get a healthy meal. I know Meals on Wheels delivers, and a lot of times they'll deliver a meal that's big enough for two. For 2 meals. So next. Okay, what if I fall? Next slide. The dreaded fall. Now, this is a whole lot easier said than done. So, but what I'm going to tell you is these are things to think about when you fall. If you trip and you fall, the first thing that we want to do is protect our head, because when we talked about traumatic brain injuries in the last session, we remember that when we hit our head, get a concussion, a lot of times that'll cause a brain bleed, and that can go undetected if we don't seek medical attention right away. So we want to try to protect our head if at all possible. If you're falling down face forward, if possible, try to turn to the side so the brunt of the fall goes on your shoulder. It's much more beneficial to injure your shoulder than it is to injure your head, because we can do more damage injuring our head than our fall. Injure our head than our shoulder. We want to keep our arms and our legs bent if at all possible. And I know this is easier said than done, because usually when we fall, we stick our arms out and try to brace ourselves from the fall. But if we can stay loose, if at all possible, try to roll out of the impact and spread the force out, kind of like you don't want to stand on a frozen pond in one spot. They tell you to spread your weight out because then the ice won't crack. Same as a fall. If you can spread the force of the fall out a little bit, you're not going to fall. Let's just say you stick your arm out and fall on your wrist and break your wrist. If you can fall on your shoulder, spread it out a little bit more, you're going to spread out the force of the fall and not do as much damage. Next. But before you get up, if you fall down, take a couple deep breaths, stay calm and assess your situation. You kind of want to lay there for a second, test your arms out, your legs out, make sure that you're not hurt. If you think you're hurt, don't get up. Call 911, call a family member, do whatever you can to get some help, come pick you up. You definitely do not want to get up if you detect a spinal cord injury or whatnot. Even with a concussion, you don't want to get up. You want to make sure that you're okay before you get up. Next slide. Now, I can't demonstrate this physically. I did this morning, but I'm going to kind of walk you through it. If we fall down, the first thing that you want to do is roll to the side of the way that your face is pointing. If you're kind of on your back, roll to the side, whichever way that your face is pointing, that's the way that you want to roll. Why? Because you don't want to twist your neck backwards and roll the opposite way and take a risk of damaging your neck anymore. So roll to the side of where your face is at. Roll over on all fours. If you can, crawl to a chair, a table, whatever. Approach the chair from the front. Put both hands on the seat. Using the strongest knee that you have on one knee, lift one leg up, and then the other knee, rise up slowly, and then twist. And I wish I could show you physically how to do this, but again, roll to the side that your face is pointing, and then onto your stomach, roll on all fours, crawl to a chair, put both hands on the seat, then get on your hands and knees, put one knee on the floor, and put your foot up, then slowly rise up, twist, and sit down in the chair. And then from there, reassess yourself again. Are you hurt? What's going on? Next slide. What if you can't get up? That's a good question. Well, here's my story that I'm going to tell you. Many years ago, well, I should say many, 6 or 7 years ago, I went to work one day and typical day, sit down, and I was on my computer and I felt literally like I got hit in the back of the head with a 2x4. And so I stood up and I fell down and I thought I'm going to try to get outside if I can. Well, I couldn't quite get up the way I wanted to. So as I started to get up, I felt super sick and I fell back down and I started to vomit profusely, very hard. And um, I had a trash can right there. Well, I was trying to get up, but I couldn't. I didn't have the strength to get up, and so I was trying to call for help. Well, what I found out is when I tried to call for help, I couldn't speak. Um, I was having a stroke. As a former paramedic, I realized I was having a stroke because as I was trying to scream, nothing was coming out. So as I was kind of laying there trying to get help and nobody could hear me, I saw my computer printer on the side of my desk. And I literally just took that computer and I threw it into the hallway. And of course, it crashed and everything. And I heard my boss yell, "What's going on in there?" And they came over and saw me laying on the ground. And lo and behold, they said, "Call 911. Jeff's having a heart attack." I'm like, "No, I'm not having a heart attack," but I couldn't speak. I was trying to point to my head. Well, none of them knew what was going on. And so they called 911. They came in, told the paramedics I was having a heart attack. And I said, "No, I didn't say no, but I pointed to my head." And they said, "A stroke, smile." And I tried to smile and they knew instantly I was having a stroke. So basically, I was just trying to stay as comfortable as I could because I knew what was going on. Of course, I didn't have a pillow or anything like that, but I laid on my side and banged on something until I got the help that I needed. So this is, if you can't get up, shout, bang. And I told the people this morning, throw something through the window if you have to get the help that you need. Things are replaceable. A lamp is replaceable, but you are not. So make sure that you knock a lamp down, throw pots and pans, do whatever you have to do to get attention. Next. So after you get up, you want to notify the doctor immediately, as soon as you can. Let them know exactly what happened, whether you think you're injured or not. It's really important that you're aware of all the signs and symptoms. Um, and again, we have handouts for all these that if required medical attention, fall. There's a handout that gives you a complete list of stuff that you need to be aware of. Next, exercise. Next slide. Exercise is really important. Exercise, both physical and mental, it helps our physical and mental well-being. It helps with our coordination, our flexibility, our balance, our overall conditioning, blood pressure, and sensory output. These are things that a body in motion stays in motion. If you remember, we talked about last time that if you fall down, then the fear of falling sets in, and then all of a sudden we don't want to exercise anymore. We don't want to exercise, then we lose muscle atrophy. Then we stay home and we isolate ourselves from, and that vicious cycle of fear of falling goes round and around. And if we don't exercise, then we lose our muscle mass and we lose the ability to exercise. So make sure that you're always, even a simple walk around the block, stay in motion. Next. But before you begin, make sure you talk to a doctor. I'm sure none of you guys are going to hit the weight room and try to be Arnold Schwarzenegger anytime soon, but we're all at different levels. So make sure that you talk to your doctor to know what level you're at. So you tell them that you want to take a Zumba class. Are you physically fit enough to take a Zumba class, or some other bingo size or Tai Chi for arthritis? One of those classes. Make sure you get doctor's recommendation first. Next slide. So it looks like we timed that almost as perfect. So in conclusion, next slide. Falls are not a natural part of aging. There's a lot of things that we can do to prevent a fall. We talked to physicians about the falls. The handouts that I gave you have a lot of reference material, helpful resources that you can look at, but they are not a natural part of aging. So there's lots of things that we can do to prevent falls. Next slide. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come in and spend just a few minutes with you last week and a few minutes this week. Is there any questions that I could possibly answer for you guys?
Thanks, Jeff. Does anybody want to come
Very
off
well.
mute? Do they have any questions for Jeff? I don't see anything in the chat. Oh, looks like I actually have a couple statements. So somebody said, taking pictures of your medication bottles also helps when you're reviewing them with your doctor. And then Kyle let us know that the state of Alaska has placements with the plate, so or placemats with the plate. So it's kind of like Meals on Wheels. So if anybody needs connection with that, then go ahead and reach out to us. And for the state of Alaska, we can help you make that connection there.
Excellent.
Yeah. Anybody questions, comments? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for the two-part series. We really appreciate it. You can go to the last slide, Mary. And then next week on Wednesday, we have Dr. Koo presenting on decolonization. So we hope to see everybody next Wednesday. And thank you for sticking it out with us. And you guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.